Welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Travel Show with Nancy and Lisa. And it is the fourth Tuesday of the month, and that means the Fire Monkey is here. Fire Monkey is Debbie Stone, the travel writer. We call her the Fire Monkey other than the other day on a segment we were doing on the Jefferson Highway when she went to the Bob Dylan Center. I called her Debbie just because we were not on the same show. Can you believe it? I actually called Debbie Debbie. So welcome back, Debbie. How are you?
And believe me, when you called me Debbie, I thought to myself, who's she talking to?
I know, so weird. We all just kind of stopped. Like, what was that? What was that? But listen, welcome back. Happy New Year. It is January, everybody, and the Fire Monkey got some fiery chicken. So when you think about spicy hot chicken, what are you thinking? She learned all about country music and African American music. She learned so much about music because she went to Music City, and I think you went to Mammoth Cave National Park too when you were there, right? When that same kind of
we did that little drive over about an hour away to get to Kentucky to the caves. But night and day. You go from Music City where there's just so much going on, and then you go to this massive cave, this underworld. Cool. So it's kind of a total dichotomy,
That's awesome though to have that kind of changeover, but I think you did a lot in Nashville. Everyone, you can see Debbie's article up on blendradioandtv.com, but it seems like you got so much about history. You had food, a lot of music, and a lot of museums, but there's shopping. It just seems like this was an epic twirl around the Music City. Like, how many days would you give people to do all that you did? Because this is a biggie.
People, you can go to Nashville and just, you can just spend, every minute of every day doing something, and, people can do it. I think it's nice to have 3 days at least to do Nashville, only because these museums in particular, they're so amazing, and they're so detailed and so interactive, and they, you want to take your time through it instead of running through, and saying, I just saw that, and there's too much. And so if you really want to spend quality time, I think 3 days is a really nice amount, because you're able to go to the museums, you're able to go listen to music, you're able to eat in fun places, and, shop if you need to shop, and just, really enjoy the whole ambiance of the town. So I would say, 3 days is comfortable, and I know people that, do it in less, but I just feel like to get really maybe a little bit deeper than just running around on the surface,
I like that you started your trip with a trolley tour, because I don't know, we started getting into those, too.
I love trolley tours.
Yeah, the trolleys, the buses, because the guides are cool. You get this really good feeling of, like, that's what we did in Nashville and Asheville, not Nashville, Asheville, North Carolina. And I don't know, it's just a kind of like, oh, this is where we're going. I don't know. I feel like that's something we should all do if you can, take a guided tour of, like, when you're in a city like Nashville or LA or New York or like a city.
Well, and you get the lay of the land.
You get the lay of the land and
exactly.
an introduction. So I think that's a first thing that we should do.
Yeah, I usually I always, if I go to a city, and especially if either I haven't been or it's been a long time, I love to do those, either like a walking tour or the trolley tours or whatever it is. But just to see, because a lot of times, there's so much knowledge also that the guides provide, and they're usually very entertaining. And also you get to see, these are these different neighborhoods in the town, and it's to me, it's a wonderful introduction to a location.
And you don't have to drive. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
You don't have to drive. You don't have to follow maps. You go, ooh, I like this place. Even just if you see a shop, you can write it down. You can play with GPS and Google later, but you can make a list of, oh, I see this. Oh, I see that. I want to go here. And it's fun. And I like trolleys because, listen, if you're driving, you need to get out of their way. I know those drivers. They're like, hey, the
And
trolley's
these
waiting.
are, I love the hop on, hop off situation as well, because that's wonderful for people who are like, okay, I'm going to take the trolley to this location, get off, go and explore it, and then I'm going to get back onto a trolley and continue on, and then get off
that's
somewhere
cool.
else where I want to go. And you use it as not only your introduction to the city, but you use it as your form of transportation.
I like this, and this is an Old Town, so they have,
Right.
it's like San Diego has Old Town, and then it's like Old Town is different than the downtown. Like it's two different things.
Oh, big time.
Is it the same? I mean, is Old Town the same as the downtown?
No, they just call it the Old Town Trolley Tour, but it goes all through. It goes throughout different neighborhoods of Nashville, and it hits it hits a bunch of different stops and points of interest, and the driver guide will be pointing out things and say, oh, you should come back here, or if you want some really good biscuits, eat here, and some wonderful things. So if you're paying attention and you want to take notes, they're people that are locals that have been guiding, and so they know the town. So you really appreciate hearing from them, and plus they've got some great stories to tell too.
I want some good biscuits.
I know. Okay, wait.
Ooh.
Okay, can we just go? I know we're going to talk about all these museums and everything, but I want to know about the chicken and the biscuits. Like,
I know.
I mean, I've got to go there. It's dinner time, and like spicy chicken feels really good to me. But the backstory of this chicken
is hysterical.
It's a country music song in its own thing.
Oh, it's just too funny. So I mean, Nashville's got just every kind of food you can want, but they're specializing in, of course, barbecue, which everyone would think so. And then there's something called hot chicken, which I really vaguely was aware of, but really didn't know anything about the backstory. But it's basically fried chicken, but it's really got a kick because there's a cayenne pepper and other things that they can put into the sauce, and how much of that kick is up to you. But the story behind it is that there was a scorned Nashville woman whose partner, his name was Thornton Prince, and he was a bit of a ladies' man, and he had a habit of coming home late because he was out and about. And so one morning after one of these nights, he awoke to the smell of fried chicken. And he was like, oh, this smells really good. And he didn't know that his woman had put this very generous dose of cayenne pepper in the dish because she wanted to teach him a lesson. But her plan backfired because he liked it so much that, he used a recipe to open that first hot chicken shop, which is called Prince's Hot Chicken Shack, which is still in existence. And if you go to Prince's, you can order your chicken from mild to, and they call it XXX hot. But what I loved is over at another favorite iconic spot, which is called Hattie B's, where they have their labels, and the most extreme is called "Shut the Cluck Up," and it has a burn notice warning on it.
See, this is the fire monkey section.
I like it.
It's like hysterical. And so I remember the driver guide on the trolley was saying, you all be careful now, if you're going to try that hot chicken.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then besides the chicken and the barbecue, another wonderful thing is these biscuits. And once again, this was a recommendation from the driver guide, and it's called Biscuit Love, and they have a couple of restaurants in the area, but it makes these incredible fluffy biscuits. I mean, incredible. And you can get all sorts of things with it, eggs and sausage gravy and fried chicken, and always with these incredible cheesy grits, which are my weakness. And then they have something called bonuts, which I've never heard of, which is like a fried donut, biscuit dough, and they put this lemon mascarpone on it, and then some blueberry stuff on top of that. It's like insane. And the place is just packed. I mean, people are waiting to get in. The biscuits were to die for. They really were delicious.
I want my bonnet.
I do. It's about time. They didn't do it at Christmas. I want it now. I want
my bonnet.
I want it. I want it now. I love it. I love it. No, so like food is a big deal, but you're going to need it because you have so much to see and do. And so let's just go back to, do the trolley tour. And then your first place you talk about in your article, again, everyone on blendradioandtv.com, is the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum.
Yeah,
that has to be one of the most iconic places to go. And then we have got to talk about the Ryman, and the Opry too. But the Country Music Hall of Fame, does it kind of show when you're there, like how country music has changed? Because at some points, some of the country musicians kind of like got pissy about Nashville. Now it's not pissy. It's like back and forth, but that's all about the change of sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
That's an interesting thing.
They take you through the history, and they take you, from the roots up until, today. And, you have some of the iconic, of course, all the iconic names, and carrying through until the current time. And also, what is amazing about this is that there are just several million artifacts in this place, so you can imagine just how incredible of a museum it is. And there are instruments and the recordings. You can listen to the music all the time. Photos. There are the costumes are incredible. All sorts of memorabilia. They even had Elvis's gold-plated caddy, and they have Taylor Swift's tour bus, and they have. I mean, it just is amazing, and it goes along with how it relates, to the history, to what's going on in our country at the time. And so, you've got video footage, and you've got all these biographical segments and panels, and who shaped the music, who kind of took it from this to that, and then they have all these wonderful these touch screens, which are very interactive, which I found very fun. And you can record your own song. You can finish the lines of popular lyrics. I love the one where you can find out which career in the music industry would most likely suit your talents. And in my case, it was a songwriter. I mean,
there you
does
go.
that make sense? Writer. But anyway, it was interesting to do all these things. So they really want to engage the visitor on a variety of different levels. And then you can go into the Hall of Fame Rotunda, which is where you're going to find, of course, all the Hall of Fame members. And currently, I think there's 149. That was of October 2022. And it talks about who was first, and then it shows everybody has got a little bronze plaque, and they've also got kind of like a likeness of themselves and some highlights about their career. And it's quite, that's a big deal, to be inducted into that Hall of Fame. And so there's a bunch of videos where they show people the induction ceremony, and they show people, what it's all involved, and then you can walk right across the street and see the Music City Walk of Fame in the Walk of Fame Park, which also has important contributors in music, and you can look at the stars that are in the sidewalk. So that is a wonderful. To me that took a couple hours. I would say easy to go through that museum, and you might even want to spend more. But and they have add-on tours. Like you can go on the guided tour of RCA Studio B, which is incredibly historic and really the big place of Nashville sound, with some of the big iconic Dolly Parton, Elvis, Charlie Pride, all these people, and 1,000 hits, and you can stand on what's called the sweet spot, which is where all these hits were recorded. So that was kind of a really cool experience as well.
Wow, nice. I love that you did so much in regards to the music. I think that's just such an important thing, that you can't go to Nashville and not do the actual music part, and that they really, really, really celebrate it, the other part of it. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and people going there, I think, really seek that kind of experience. That's really part of it. They want to listen, of course. They want to listen, of course, to live music. That's a big part of it.
Oh, that's.
They also want to explore the roots and the history, and see the makers of the all these people that they've heard over all the years. It's a deep dive into that.
I love that RCA studio that you can.
It's a form of respect, going to honor those people that you love their music, and to go read about them, learn a little bit more. It's such a good thing to do, and you come away understanding way more about the music than before you walked in.
Yeah, it just gives you great perspective, great perspective, and not only that, it's enjoyable. It's there's. I just found it to be wonderful, and I could have spent much more time,
Jealous.
And the thing, you went to RCA Studio B, and I want to do that, and because Chet Atkins is one of my heroes.
Oh gosh, yeah.
He really is, and
Yeah.
that's a big deal to me. And like Mark Knopfler, right? I would like to have been there in a room with the two of them. That would have
Oh
been
God.
like a deal for me. That's then bring in Emmylou Harris and she can, anyway, yep, that would be
Yep.
really good. So
Mhm.
and they're still recording there, like you're saying. This is so cool.
Yeah.
But the National Museum of African American Music,
Oh.
I think that is so important because
Oh.
listen, this is
Mhm.
my deal about Tennessee and Louisiana and Memphis, like and Georgia and
Yeah.
Florida. Like we're gonna do like a series of shows. So you got to come back on for this. Going in the South. It's the music history of the South. And
Okay.
it's not just the history, but it's a then and now, because Mississippi
Mhm.
has the Blues Trail and it goes
Right.
into Louisiana. Now they just did the national marker for Buddy Guy in Louisiana, which,
Yeah.
dude, he's the dude. Like
He is
seriously,
the.
it's Buddy
Yes.
Guy.
Yes.
But now Memphis, right, is a huge, you've got Stacked Records, you've got all of this going
Yep.
on in Memphis. So now they've got these cruises, river cruises going from Memphis to New Orleans. So now I'm
Oh
seeing
yeah.
this whole thing happening.
Mm.
Yeah.
We've got Mississippi, and Alabama has to be in there. Oh my God, if I left out Leonard
Yep.
Skinner, I'd be killed. But
Rude.
anyway, the South, you guys have got stuff going on with music. But from in Memphis to Nashville is the music highway when you're driving. We see it every time. They have one of the coolest visitor centers just outside Nashville. They are
Mhm.
playing Johnny Cash. They have a rocking chair, two rocking chairs next to a fireplace with all your visitor information. Like, come on. That's the
That's
It's
coolest
so
thing
wonderful.
cool.
ever. So I'm
They,
all into this. This is
I
and I get excited. Sorry.
no, I just I do I love the way that the tourism folks in Nashville have really they've really got their act together, and it's
Cool.
really a wonderful. If you go to their website, it's quite amazing and quite extensive. You could say visit musiccity.com, and it's, to me, it was a very helpful place to go to in advance of a trip, to find out where you want to go, what neighborhoods there are, what do you want to see, what do you want to do, how can you
Mm.
plan your trip. They'll give you great trip planning advice if you need it. To me, it's wonderful, because I think Nashville, on one level, can be overwhelming for visitors
Mhm.
the first time, because there's so much, and
Yeah.
you kind of have to figure
Mhm.
out, okay, I have to have kind of a quote unquote plan of attack here, in terms of, how do I want to fit in these things, and where are things, so that I can group things together, so I'm not going way off in one
Mhm.
direction and then having to come back the other direction. So I think, for me, it's very helpful to have that kind of information, so I can plot it out when I get there. It's not,
Yeah.
it's one of those places where you kind of want to do it, especially if you want to see everything that you want to see. But I do think that,
I want to go to the National Museum of African American Music because I think
yes,
people forget about that with country
it
music.
is
And there are, like,
incredible.
honestly, listen, banjo music came from African Americans. So I'm just saying,
Mhm.
in Africa.
It
So
is. It is. It was probably one of the most. I mean, to me, it was excellent, excellent. So well done. Once again, taking you through a timeline of music, from a
Awesome.
historical perspective, a social perspective, gospel, jazz, R&B, hip hop, all the
Oh,
different kind of
cool.
genres. And
That sounds
once
so
again, you
cool.
can listen to music at different places. They give you this little, like, I can't, but it's like a little gadget, but you can use it to record snippets of music that you want, and so then
Cool.
they put together a playlist for you, and send it to you, and it's fabulous. And so it was just,
Wow.
and you see people, and they're just kind of like, they're moving their bodies and bopping around, and you can see them as they're
Cool.
listening to music, and it's wonderful. It was
Mhm.
terrific. And then they have other a bunch of other museums, but if you're a Johnny Cash fan or a Patsy Cline fan, there are museums devoted to each of these artists that are also well done, very interactive, very much I would say touting a collection of artifacts that it's quite wonderful. So if you're into those, either one of those, and they're both in the same building, one on one floor, one on the other, and it takes you through the history of these particular musicians and songstress, and it's, to me, it was fascinating because you find out all different kinds of things about particularly these two people that you probably never knew about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's just to actually, you see the movies and everything. It's like going to see Graceland in Memphis, or, then going to see, Johnny Cash and seeing his memorabilia, like you just did the Bob Dylan Center,
right.
To actually see these things, and even their photos being big, it just reminds you of like these epic moments in our music history, because music tells the true story of life. It does.
Yes, it does.
Music and the arts, books, it just, the arts have a way of being true, and we need the truth, and we need it to be coated with some art. You know what I mean? So I think this is one of those things, and people who stand up, musicians stand up for things, and Johnny Cash certainly did. Patsy Cline in her own way did so much too, that she does need her own museum like they have. So there's that. And I do want to get to the Grand Ole Opry and the Ryman Auditorium, but I want to touch on the art, because that's another thing. And apparently you visited the site of Greece. Did they give you could you throw plates at the art museum?
This is it's so funny, because of all the places that you would expect to see something like this, it's hysterical. But there is something called the Parthenon, and it looks like the Parthenon, and and it's in the Centennial Park, and it's a full-scale replica of the original, and it was built for the 1897 Centennial Exposition. And you ask yourself, why would this be here? Why would the people want this here? And this is an interesting backstory, because it relates to one of the city's names, which is the Athens of the South, and they got that name because back then, they were very proud of the fact that they had several noted colleges, they had universities, they had special academies, and this is an area of the country that was not known for educating its people, and so they were very proud of this, and so they thought that a structure like the Parthenon would be a great way to honor at the centennial celebration. And so today it is an art museum, and also you walk in and there is a dazzling recreation of a 42-foot Athena in all her magnificent gold, and it's amazing. But so that's kind of cool, and you think to yourself, gosh, what, this is amazing to find this here. So it's one of those surprises that I love to find out about cities.
See, this is so cool, because when you think about art, again, the arts are different, but you don't expect to see the Parthenon. You just don't expect that to happen as soon as you're going to Nashville, and then suddenly hello, we're doing this. But but to see art too, that's a nice kind of changeover from the music. It gives you some breathing space, and a different different sense of enjoyment and looking. But the Grand Ole Opry and Ryman Auditorium to me are so, this is iconic. I know they have these backstage parties and concerts, and we've done interviews on this before, even they've been flooded, but they were hit by one was hit by lightning years ago. And we did an interview with a photographer who did a black and white photo book on them, and the buildings went through, they've been through hell, let's just say. It's gone through hell, but it's you're not going to kill the Opry. It will
live on and on and on, and it's visiting it is definitely one of those pilgrimages for a lot of people who come to Nashville, and they want to go to the Opry, and they want to go and listen to music, and they want to go to the Ryman, and they want to go listen to music. But also I found it fascinating to do the backstage tour. And to me, at the Opry, it was wonderful. I went to a concert there, which was great. There was, the night I went, it was Vince Gill and Trace Atkins and Joe Mullins and Jamie Johnson and Gary. There was so many good great country musicians on stage, and it was so exciting to be a part of that. And it is a radio show, so you are, a part of the radio show. And then afterwards, I did the backstage tour, which I found to be fascinating because that's where you get to go to see the dressing rooms. You see where the VIP spaces, where do they enter the artists, the themes of the dressing room, and to me. And speaking of the flood, there was a marker in one of the in the room that they call the family room, and it showed that high water mark during that flood back in 2010. And it was, I mean, it's pretty daunting. And the fact that it took about 5 months for them to restore the place, it was, and in the meantime, they did do their shows over at the Ryman, I think, and other venues around.
Yeah, I remember that flood happening, and friends of ours who have a ranch out there got flooded badly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was what was going on in Nashville and the surrounding areas in Franklin. It was devastating what was going on for the land, and they still get it. It's just it's a special place. But I'm so glad you went there because listen, I have a thing about hee haw, and Nancy likes Minnie Pearl.
Oh no, you know what? I would like to go to Trace Adkins' dressing room.
Of course,
God,
hey,
it was to me. He was great. He was phenomenal. He really was excellent.
Yeah, I really like him.
You learn about all. You learn about the roots of the Opry. You learn about old, Minnie Pearl, and the hee haw whole
she's
scene,
awesome.
and absolutely. And so it's wonderful. And you learn about
iconic.
that circle on the floor that is so iconic as well, that represents that.
Yes.
They talk about the unbroken connection, for the history and traditions, and the performers stand there, and for them, especially if you're a first-time performer to the opera, if you're standing there, it's like you realize how many of the greats that you have admired and revered over the years, that they've all stood there, and it's a pretty special thing. And the Ryman is,
awesome.
A Nashville landmark. It's really, it is the mother church. It is the mother church of country music, and it was the first home of the Opry, and today it's happened. It's has 2,300 seat auditorium, has some of the most incredible acoustics that performers constantly rave over. I also went to attend a show of the Mavericks, which I thought was
awesome.
phenomenal.
They're cool.
They are so cool. And, you can also, if you can't see somebody, you can take a self-guided tour of the place. So you can look and see all, learn about the history and look at the memorabilia that's in there. And so, these are two hallowed places for country music fans and performers.
You can't leave them out.
When you go to places like this, and like when you're in, we've gone through Bristol and places that, where Johnny Cash has traveled, and it's in music, when you drive through places and they've been there, like we're going to go, I know we're going to make this happen this year, 2023, since we're recording in this year, right? But we're going to go to Wink, Texas. And it's a small, apparently if you wink, you missed it. But they have a tiny museum in Wink, and it's dedicated. It's Roy Orbison's birthplace. Are you kidding me? Like I'm sorry, but I'm a crazy huge fan of Roy Orbison. Weirdly, I don't know if it's Dennis Hopper movies. I don't know what got me all, tweaked out on him, but his voice but he was all around Nashville too. So when you drive in these areas, do you have their music playing in your head? Like when you go, because you travel and you've done so many road trips, over the last few years during the pandemic, do you ever hear their music when you're going through, this is their part of their country that they've written about? Like if you go to Alcatraz or you go San Quentin, you got to think of Johnny Cash. Like, come on, you can't. Every time
without a doubt.
I think of him every time I'm out near that area. It's like you kind of, doesn't it kind of have music music gives a sense of place. And
it's a huge sense of place. I think it's one of the, it's just people listen to a song and they can tell you when they first heard it or when it was, pivotal in their life. They can say, oh my gosh, that was back when I was in college, or that was back when, I was working at blah, 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 whatever it is. But it brings you to a place so vividly, and it's just, to me, it's an amazing way to touch base with your past.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like in Bakersfield, there's a Buck Owens thing because
Yes.
Buck
Oh, I
Owens. I
know
mean,
that. Yep. Yep.
I haven't
Yep.
been there, but every time I'm there,
Yep.
we turn on this old school radio
Yep.
station
Gotta
out there.
do respect.
Go up
Gotta
the
do the
highway. It's the
honors.
all-American highway through the farmlands and the oil derricks.
Yep.
And you listen
Yep.
to this old school music. And we stayed in an old school farmhouse and watched a wedding once. And it was like, I
Yep.
mean, you are transported back. And if you
Yep.
don't seize that moment and have that feeling, it's the closest you can do in time travel. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's cool.
It is. It really is. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
I think
Oh.
that's the power of music. It really has such power.
Mhm.
Well, now let's talk about the honky tonk highway because,
Yes.
okay, and there's all these clubs. I mean, we've got our friend Stephen Karen. She was partying at Kid Rock's, like she was up on the bar, like or like this thing dancing, and I'm going, is that Karen? And now they all know Stephen Karen from the Lion on the Rose Bed and Breakfast in Asheville. Go to Nashville all the time. It's like
rock
in the
it.
music cities.
They
It's a
rock it.
route. People do it. They go back and forth all the
Mhm.
time. And
Yeah.
I think last time they went, they brought us moonshine, so we like them.
Ooh.
But
Of
anyway,
course.
yeah, so it's like, well, no, they were in Gatlinburg, but it's a close knit highway, and even the interstate shares the music of this area. That's what I was saying. Like the
Yes.
interstate, I mean, the state itself celebrates music so deeply and understands
Yeah.
who the people are, and I love this, but going out and partying, you go to these museums, now you're all like revved up. It's like it's like the tailgate party, going to the museums, and then
No,
you
you
go
need
out.
to.
Now,
Yes.
You need to go in a
Absolutely.
red convertible with the top down.
yeah, people
It's
like,
walking Lower Broadway, which is a honky tonk highway. There are so many bars and clubs, and the music is just pounding and bumping out into the streets day and night. And it's so the big thing to do is you walk along, and there's no cover charge to enter. You walk along, and when you hear something, you peek in the window, and you peek, because the windows are usually open to the air, and so you can look in. You look at the band that's playing, the crowd that's there. If something that you like, you pop in. You stay for a tune or two, and then check out a few places. I mean, the best thing to do is to really stroll and stop and stroll and stop and stroll and stop. And of course,
Cool.
there's all sorts of iconic places that people are really wanting to go, that have are very popular, like Tootsie's and Whiskey Row and AJ's.
I want to go to
and
Whiskey
Kid
Row.
Rock.
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're busy, and there's a lot of times lines to enter, and you're going to be packed like sardines, and people are having a grand old time. But what I didn't know, but when I found out, was that there are 3 songs that the groups all will play only and only if the crowd comes up with $100 for them to play the song. And one of them is Leonard Skinner, as you were mentioning, Free Bird,
Dude,
Harley
yeah.
Daniels Band, The Devil Went
Dude.
Down to Georgia, another huge one, and Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. And so
Those are hard.
And so if you want them to play that, so the crowd, they come up with the money collectively or whatever, and then for other requests, usually, you put some kind of donation in there, and if you want something really specific. But it's
Free
fun,
Bird?
and you see
Seriously?
all Freebird. Oh my God, because it's also such a long song. Like
when we had
like
our
the
band,
Devil Went
people
Down
would
to
do
Georgia.
that.
Oh my
People would
God.
do that to our band all the time. Free Bird, and
We're like, oh,
dude.
no, not
And I
again.
remember we did this one gig, and this lady walked up to me and she goes, "If you don't play Mustang Sally, I'm not tipping you." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's our warm-up song. We don't play that as a main thing. Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, but
No,
we
if you
did.
don't play it, I'm not tipping you. I'm like, well,
Oh,
anyway,
well then,
yeah.
But no, the most popular seemed to be, when I went to several of these of the places, was the Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Of
And
course.
Yeah.
I mean,
they had
easy
some
good.
very hot fiddling there. I mean, some of these groups, and it was really interesting to
Wow.
see the different groups doing renditions of it. So it was fun to see that. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was fun. There's a lot of quality performers out there on
Mhm.
Lower Broadway. I mean, these folks are good. And so, you could spend all night and all day doing that, if that is your cup of tea, so, or I should say if the cup of whiskey, so.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's it. You walk around and hey, listen, Willie Nelson spent the night, like one night he decided to go to sleep on the road, on the actual road. He passed out on the street.
Oh gosh.
And they had to get him. I think he got arrested and then yeah, but that was back in his drinking days. Now he's into weed. But he was a little happy on the highway. But this I want to bring that up too, because you get into those places, and we have friends in Nashville, and they always take Ubers. And one friend he did this sober January thing, and then went out, and it was crazy. He went and did all of these honky tonks, all of Kids Rock Place, whatever. And and then suddenly had to do sober February because he overdid himself. He was in an Uber, a karaoke Uber, singing with his girlfriend. It was hysterical. They had twinkly lights all on the inside, and I think he was singing La Bamba or something. It was crazy. It was like this crazy little mothership. So it's like, not only you don't get into a somber Uber in Nashville. It's like it's a party continues on, but yeah, he had to go to a hospital and get hooked up. He overdid himself. He forgot, and because his body was clean, and he just went wild. And yeah.
Well, that's not unusual. I mean, when I was there, I saw some, fairly inebriated people, especially the later it gets into the night. It gets, you can,
of course.
Definitely, the rollicking begins, so to speak. So so it's definitely a scene. I also mentioned the fact that people shopping there is also a big thing. People are there because they also want that definitely that pair of cowboy boots, and there are lots of boot stores
and
around,
those jackets, those
rhinestone decorated jackets.
Not sequins.
We're going rhinestone.
Yeah, the rhinestone cowboy. Come on.
Yep. So there's plenty of that place, and one of my favorite places though was this kind of an interesting area called Marathon Village, which was one of these repurposed historical structures that used to be called the Marathon Motor Works. And this was the company that made the first cars in Tennessee. And so, once that was over and done, which didn't last very long, it kind of stood empty for a while. Was eventually though it was repurposed, and so they kept all these industrial parts and these pieces of equipment and that they had in the factory. And it's really such an interesting place to go shopping too, because places like this you're going to find some really quirky, unique types of items. And so this was one of the stops on the trolley, and so this is also one of the stops. It was like, okay, let's get off here and let's check this place out. And it was fun, really fun. Cool. There's that store that History Channel's American Pickers. They have that store, so a lot of antique stuff. And Jack Daniel's, the whiskey maker, has a lot of paraphernalia there, and you can look at the cars that were still in existence. There's only 8 of them left. And so it you can definitely you can definitely shop till you drop there.
Wow, cool. It sounds like fun. I mean, that could be dangerous, but I'm all good now. Let's go back to the food. I know we talked about the chicken, but it seems like you had Mexican food. You went to Germantown. I didn't know there was a Germantown chocolate, Goo Goo Chocolate Company.
Oh,
I was like,
ooh. Yeah, Goo Goo Chocolate Company is a Nashville. It's a home, and they invented it in Nashville. So you can go to the factory there, and you can actually make your own if you want. You can design your own, or just get the ones that are there. But you have to have a Goo Goo Chocolate cluster when you're there, definitely. And there's, like I said, anything that you ever have wanted to eat, whether it's Mexican, whether it's seafood, whether it's you want Italian food, anything. And one of my favorite places though was the Assembly Food Hall, which is so cool. I mean, I went there for lunch twice because they have so many options. Everything there, from poke bowls to pizza to burgers to Indian food to
and a rooftop
pho
bar.
And yes, with music, it's like, and lobster rolls. I mean, it was like, are you kidding me?
She's back to lobster. You can't take the lobster out of her.
I know, and of course, I had to have lobster rolls.
Oh my
had
gosh.
the lobster.
But yes, so there's so many choices. It's really wonderful, to be able to go to a city that offers so much, and so you're never sick of one kind of food. You can just keep going from one to another to another to another.
Oh, you had hush puppies.
Oh yes.
Yes. I love hush puppies. Even in the morning with hot honey.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
So they're so good. Ooh. I don't care. Hush puppies are absolutely
with barbecue sauce.
Yum.
Hush puppies and barbecue sauce. Hush puppies with honey.
Hush doesn't matter. Hush puppies with anything.
I would like hush puppies now with chicken. Thank you. I'd like the spicy
now I'm
chicken.
feeling like hush puppies.
I want the hush
puppy. I'm getting hungry.
I know. Again. And listen, we're recording this in Tennessee. We're going to have to do a detour. Doing a detour.
Gosh.
It's all your fault. We're detouring. I want hush puppies, and I want them now.
Yes, and then you want some of that biscuit love, honey. You do.
I do. I want the biscuit. I want the chicken.
I want the chocolate. And hush puppies.
I know.
And chocolate.
And especially want the music. I want the music.
Yes.
I really want to go. And you did such a good overview for everybody to really kind of get their bearings like, oh, I want to go here. I want to go there. Awesome job on that. So everyone, again, I really encourage you to go to Debbie's article on blendradioandtv.com. It really gives you a good overview of what you can expect and see and do. Also go to the Nashville website, which is visitmusiccity.com. Duh. So visitmusiccity.com is the site. And, Debbie, the Fire Monkey, is here every fourth Tuesday. So keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. And we're going to close with music. There's no way.
Yay. Yay.
We have to. And so this is from our friends who used to live in Nashville. Now they're in Alabama, in Birmingham. The Joiners, Rachel and Taylor Joyner. They had this awesome 4-piece band out of Nashville. And this is the title track of their album, Glorious, Glorious. So you can go to thejoinerhouse.bandcamp.com to check out the whole album online. But here it is, and Spotify, all those places too. But Bandcamp is good for musicians. They get their money. Just saying. So here it is, Glorious, Glorious. So enjoy, everyone. Thanks so much, Fire Monkey.
Hey, thanks. Looking forward to talking to you soon again. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Here we go.
The glorious, glorious life of the singer. Come down to Nashville, check out my fingers. You tour the museums while I'll play the streets. If you like what you hear by me, something to hear. They don't make guys like you where I'm from. Always thought the streets were for fun. So softly landing a kiss on my face. She liked the feeling, I love the taste of the glorious, glorious life of the singer. Come down to Nashville, check out my fingers. You tour the museums while I play the streets. If you like what you hear by me, something to eat. The glorious, glorious life of the artist. Watching him play be so cathartic. Hearing her sing, well, it might bring you home. What you see on that stage, that's all that she owns. Oh, the glorious, glorious life of the singer. Come down to Nashville, check out my fingers. You tour the museums while I play the streets. If you like what you hear by me, something to eat. The glorious, glorious life of the singer. Come down to Nashville, check out my fingers. You tour the museums while I play the streets. If you like what you hear by me, something to eat.